The first time Mateo saw the boy, it was over a shattered mirror. A group of teens had knocked it from the stand while roughhousing near his sidewalk setup. But only one didn't laugh. He just stared. Face shadowed by a hoodie, eyes darting. A jagged scar ran from his cheekbone to jaw, fresh enough to still ache. The boy didn't ask for a cut. He just stood there silent, as if daring someone to tell him to leave. Mateo didn't. He simply picked up the mirror, taped it back, and patted the empty chair. The boy sat. Each Sunday after that he returned, never said much, never paid. Mateo never asked him to. Then one week the boy didn't come. Not the next either, or the one after that. Mateo waited. Every Sunday. Same chair, same quiet prayer that maybe he'd return. He never did. Until one scorching afternoon, walking through the city's redeveloped center, Mateo saw it. His own face, staring back at him from a 30-foot mural, 4 words below it scrawled in thick white strokes. He believed I mattered. Mateo blinked once, then again, because now the whole city had seen him too. The street was always dusty. By noon, it baked under sunlight that bleached the rusted shutters and curled the edges of old flyers on telephone poles. The sidewalk cracked in patches. The air tasted faintly of exhaust and frying oil. But beneath a crooked awning just past the corner store, a folding chair, a cracked mirror, and a battery-powered clipper told a quieter story. That's where Mateo set up every Sunday. He wasn't much to look at. 40-something. Thin frame. Quiet eyes that seemed to notice more than they admitted. His hands were steady, gentle, like someone who'd learned the difference between trimming hair and cutting away shame. Kids called him the ghost barber. Not to his face, of course, just around the block, because he didn't talk much, didn't charge anything on Sundays, and never asked questions. He just showed up. The first boy that morning had a busted sneaker and too much gel in his hair, talked loud, tried to hide his hunger with jokes. Mateo nodded, motioned him into the chair. You want it all off? Nah, just shaped up. My girl says I look like a mop. Mateo smirked faintly. Let's fix that then. The buzz of the clippers filled the space between them. Comfortable silence, street noise, a baby crying somewhere, a dog barking. When he was done, the boy touched the back of his neck like he'd forgotten what clean skin felt like. You good man, he asked awkwardly, digging into his pocket. Mateo waved it off. No charge, you know that. The boy smiled, then frowned uncertain. Thanks, I guess. As he left, he shouted back, I'll tell my cousin you don't suck. The second boy didn't talk, just stared at the sidewalk the whole time. Mateo cut anyway. Sometimes words got in the way. By mid-afternoon, he'd done 4 heads and his battery was running low. He poured warm water from a thermos over the blades, wiped the chair, sat back. For a few minutes, he just watched the clouds. Some Sundays, that was it. Other Sundays, something would shift. A new face, a deeper silence. Today felt like one of those. From across the street, the corner store owner, Lena, stepped out. She wiped her hands on a dish towel. You okay, Mateo, she called. He raised a thumb. She squinted. You need water. He shook his head. But she crossed the street anyway. You never ask for things, she said, placing a cold bottle next to him. That doesn't mean you shouldn't. Mateo gave her a quiet smile. Thanks. You know, she added, most people wouldn't waste Sundays cutting hair for kids who can't pay. I don't see it as waste, he said. Still, you're the only one who shows up. She lingered for a moment. You ever think about opening a real shop? I had one, he said softly. Oh, Lena paused. Sorry, I didn't know. He nodded, eyes distant. Lena patted his shoulder before heading back. The chair sat empty again. But not for long. Around 4 p.m. he saw him, a figure standing at the end of the block. Hood up, shoulders tight, hesitant steps. Mateo didn't speak, just wiped the chair again and pretended not to notice. The boy crossed slowly, kept his head down. When he finally sat, Mateo saw the scar. It ran from just below the left eye down to the corner of the mouth. Still pink, still raw. No older than 16. He didn't speak. Mateo didn't push, just turned on the clippers. The boy flinched at the sound but didn't move. Mateo paused, waited, gave him the chance to back out. The boy didn't. The cut began. The hair was tangled, oily, grown wild. But beneath it there was bone and curve and humanity. After 20 minutes, the boy finally whispered, "Why are you doing this?" Mateo didn't stop cutting. "Because someone once did it for me." The boy didn't ask more. When it was done, Mateo handed him the mirror. The boy looked, blinked, didn't smile, but didn't flinch either. Then stood up. "Thanks," he muttered. Mateo just nodded. "Same time next week," he said quietly. The boy didn't promise. But he came back. The boy returned the next Sunday. Same hoodie, same silence. Mateo didn't ask his name. Names came with weight. And sometimes kids needed a place where they could just exist, without stories, without shame. But he watched how the boy glanced over his shoulder more often than most, how he never quite sat still, how he flinched when Mateo touched near the scar, though he tried not to show it. He never requested a specific cut, just sat and let Mateo work. By the 4th week, he spoke first. "I used to cut hair." Mateo didn't stop clipping. "Oh yeah. My uncle had clippers. I used to try it on my cousin. He hated me for it." A small laugh. "Why?" "I messed up his fade so bad he wore a beanie for 2 weeks in summer." Mateo chuckled softly. "That's how you learn. Did you learn like that too?" Mateo paused, then said no. "I learned because I had to. No one else would touch my head the way I wanted, so I figured it out." The boy was quiet again. Then a whisper, "You ever mess up?" "All the time." He didn't come alone the next time. A lanky kid named Jermaine tagged along, restless, loud, made jokes about the boy's scar until Mateo gave him a look. Jermaine shut up after that. When it was Jermaine's turn in the chair, he muttered, "Didn't mean nothing by it, just playing." Mateo worked in silence for a few seconds, then said, "Sometimes playing sounds like pain." Jermaine looked down. Didn't talk much after that either. Over the following weeks, more teens came. Some brought each other. Some showed up because word had spread. Mateo never asked how. But the chair was rarely empty. Still, the boy's scar and all kept coming. Always near the end of the day, always alone, always quiet, until one day he handed Mateo something, a folded paper. A sketch. Rough but powerful. A face. Mateo's face. Lines deep. Eyes soft. Mateo stared at it longer than he meant to. "You drew this?" The boy shrugged. "I try stuff." "It's good," Mateo said. "Really good." The boy almost smiled, then looked away. "You ever show people your art?" He shook his head. They wouldn't get it. Mateo carefully folded the drawing and slid it into his bag. "I get it," he said. The boy didn't reply, but his eyes softened. The weeks blurred into each other. Fall came. Leaves crisped underfoot. The air chilled, and Mateo started bringing extra jackets to offer the ones who didn't have enough. The boy always refused. "I'm good," he'd say, arms folded tight. But his teeth sometimes chattered while he sat. Mateo never forced it, just left the jacket on the armrest. Some days it disappeared when he wasn't looking. One Sunday, the boy didn't come. It was cold. Too cold. Mateo stayed longer that day, kept the chair out till dusk. No sign of him. The next week, still no show. He asked Jermaine casually, "You seen your friend?" Jermaine shrugged. "Nah, he don't tell people stuff." "You know his name?" "Eli, I think. Maybe. He got like 3 names. Mateo nodded. "You think he's okay?" Jermaine kicked a bottle cap down the sidewalk. "No idea, that kid's a ghost." The 3rd Sunday came, then the 4th. Still no Eli. Mateo kept putting the chair out, kept the jacket nearby. But the seat stayed empty. Some of the other kids noticed too. "Yo, where's Hoodie Boy?" "Yeah, he was kinda weird, but nice. Maybe he went back home." Mateo didn't say anything. Just swept up the hair, packed the clippers, walked home in silence. Inside, he unfolded the drawing again, ran his thumb over the pencil strokes. He said he tries stuff, Mateo whispered to himself. Then folded it back, placed it under a tin box on the shelf, and turned off the light. Lena noticed the shift. "You all right?" she asked one morning, handing him a cup of coffee. "Yeah. You've been quieter than usual. I didn't think that was possible." She laughed. "Fair, but still, something's missing." Mateo looked out at the corner. "It's not just hair," he murmured. "Huh, what I do?" It's not just cutting hair. It's giving people a mirror, sometimes for the first time. Lena nodded slowly. And when the mirror disappears, Mateo didn't answer, because sometimes words only dug the silence deeper. One Sunday, just before packing up, a girl named Tanya approached. She was 15, wore oversized sweaters and scuffed boots. Hadn't spoken much before, but today she lingered. "You knew Eli?" she asked. Mateo's hands froze. "Yeah. He crashed on our couch once, like 2 weeks ago. Said he was heading west. Said, you were the only adult who didn't make him feel broken." Mateo's throat tightened. "Did he say where?" She shook her head. "Just somewhere better." "Okay," he whispered. "Then softer thanks." That night, Mateo sat with the sketch again. He turned it over. On the back, in faded pencil, 3 words. Not done yet. 2 months passed. The weather turned cruel. Wind whistled through alleyways like a warning, and snow gathered in corners no one bothered to clear. Mateo kept showing up. Same folding chair, same red cape, same thermos of tea. Some Sundays only 2 kids came. Other times more than a dozen crowded under the awning. But Eli never returned. And Mateo, though he never said it aloud, felt it every time he packed up his clippers. Then came the call. It wasn't from Eli. It was from Lena, breathless and excited. "Mateo, you need to come downtown, now." "What, why?" "There's a mural. It's huge. You need to see it." He hesitated. "What's it of?" "You," she whispered. "It's you." Mateo almost didn't go. The idea felt absurd, like a prank someone would pull just to see his face fall. But something about Lena's voice, soft with wonder, nudged him forward. He took the train. Got off near the warehouse district, where the walls wore color like armor. Graffiti climbed every brick painting the gray city with rebellion, grief, hope. And then he saw it. 3 stories tall. His face, his barber's smock, his soft eyes caught mid-smile, framed by streaks of crimson and gold. The background, sharp lines and abstract chaos formed a crown over his head, like the street itself was honoring him. And beneath it, just 4 words. "He believed I mattered." Mateo stood frozen, mouth slightly open, hands in his coat pockets, fists clenched around nothing. A small crowd had gathered, tourists taking selfies, a kid pointing up at the painting. But no one recognized him. Not yet. Lena found him 20 minutes later. He hadn't moved. She stepped beside him, voice low. "It's him, isn't it?" He nodded. "Ellie." They stood there in silence, until a man with a clipboard approached. "You here for the mural?" he asked. Mateo blinked. "I guess. Guy who painted it some rising star in the graffiti world. Calls himself Crow. Real name still a mystery, but this piece he donated it. Said it's his only public portrait. Commissioned it himself." "Did he leave a note?" Lena asked. The man shook his head. "Just the message. No credits, no website, just disappeared." He looked up at the mural again. "Honestly, feels like something spiritual." That night, Mateo sat in the dark of his tiny kitchen. The drawing lay on the table. Next to it, a torn flyer from the wall near the mural. Pop-up gallery featuring Crow. One night only. It was dated 3 weeks ago. Missed it. Still, his fingers hovered over the name. Crow. He flipped the drawing over again. Not done yet. It matched. Same hand. Same tilt of the letters. It was him. No question. The next day, Mateo placed a fresh canvas sheet over the armrest of his barber chair. He bought new clippers, a sharper cape, and posted a sign on the pole nearby. "Still here, Sundays, free, for anyone who forgot they matter." The neighborhood noticed. Not just the teens anymore. Old men came by just to sit and talk. Women brought their nephews or sons. Kids lingered after haircuts, asking questions about fade lines or beard trimming. And slowly, Mateo became more than just the quiet guy with steady hands. He became someone people trusted. Jermaine, who now showed up early to help carry the folding table, looked up at the mural one afternoon and said, I think I get why he did it." "Why, who did what?" "Eli, the painting." Mateo raised an eyebrow. Jermaine continued. "People didn't see him right. He was just that scarred kid, the one with no place. But you..." He paused, rubbed the back of his neck. You saw him like he was whole. Mateo looked down at his hands, then back at the mural. I didn't do anything special. Jermaine snorted. Yeah, you just saved people and called it a fade. That night, Mateo dreamed of Eli. Not as he was, but older. Confident, laughing, holding a can of spray paint in one hand, a sketch pad in the other. He stood on top of a rooftop looking out over the city. Not done yet, he whispered. Mateo woke up in tears. Days passed. Then weeks. The mural kept drawing crowds. And every now and then someone would notice, would stop, would squint at Mateo and ask, wait, is that? He never answered, just smiled. Then one afternoon a package arrived. No return address. Inside a leather-bound notebook. The first page read, For the man who saw past the mirror. Dozens of sketches followed. Faces, hairlines, mouths caught mid-smile. Every teen who sat in Mateo's chair was there. So was Lena. So was Jermaine, beaming awkwardly like he didn't know where to look. And finally, at the very end, a sketch of Mateo again. Older this time, slight gray in his beard, sitting in the barber chair with a crown of clippers above his head. One last note written beneath it. You were my first canvas. Now the world is my wall. Mateo held the notebook to his chest. Breathed in slow. Felt the weight of it not heavy but full. Full of something that had no name. But he knew what it meant. Someone had found their way. Because he had offered a chair. And listened. The season shifted again. Winter thawed into a reluctant spring. The city wore its grime openly, now wet concrete splashes of neon puddles catching pieces of the sky. Mateo kept the same rhythm. Sunday mornings the chair came out. Clippers charged, mirror wiped clean. His hands moved with quiet precision. The lineups sharp, the fades smooth. But something deeper had changed. People came for the cut. But they stayed for the pause. For the silence Mateo gave them without judgment. For the questions he didn't ask unless invited. For the way he remembered every name even if it had only been whispered once. Lena started staying longer. Not just to help set up, but to sit beside him during the lull. She brought snacks. Helps keep them around, she said. But Mateo knew it was more than that. He caught her one morning just staring at the mural, then at him. What he asked. She hesitated. Then you ever think about doing more? He frowned. More, you're already doing more. But I mean, what if this became a thing like an actual spot? Permanent. Real walls. Real mirrors. He shook his head. That's not what this is. I know, she said softly, but maybe it could be both. He didn't answer. Not because he disagreed, but because part of him was afraid to want something again. Later that night, he passed by the mural on his way home. Someone had placed fresh candles beneath it. 3 small tea lights, flickering like tiny stars. Above them, taped to the wall, was a new note. Handwritten, marker on cardboard. I didn't vanish. I healed. Mateo stared at it for a long time. Then he took a photo. The following Sunday brought something unexpected. An older man, clean clothes, strong jaw. He stood back from the line of teens just watching. Mateo noticed the tension in his shoulders. The way he looked at the kids, not with judgment, but with distance, like someone who once stood in their shoes, but no longer fit. When the line thinned, the man stepped forward. You cut anyone, he asked. Mateo tilted his head. If you've got a story and 2 ears, I got clippers. The man chuckled low, almost embarrassed. I was Eli's uncle. Mateo froze. The clippers stilled in his hand. He told me about you, the man said. Before he disappeared, we were fighting. Thought I knew what was best. Tried to send him away. He left instead. He looked down. I saw the mural. I just needed to see if it was true. Mateo nodded slowly. The man sat. And as the clippers hummed to life, the air between them thickened like memory or forgiveness or both. When the haircut ended, the man stood, pressed something into Mateo's hand. A business card. On the back, community arts grant. They'd fund a space, he said, if someone wanted one. He turned to leave, then paused. He never stopped drawing, you know, even when things were rough. Said it was the only time he didn't feel broken. Mateo didn't speak, just nodded, and tucked the card into his pocket. That night, Mateo went home and unlocked the notebook again. page by page, every line a whisper, every face a reason. And when he reached the end, his own sketch with the crown of clippers, he smiled. Then carefully he pulled out the last page, framed it, hung it by his bed. 2 weeks later, Lena found a spot. Small, cracked walls, leaky roof, but good bones, and enough space for 2 chairs. Mateo hesitated at first, but when Jermaine offered to help repaint and 3 of the other teens started talking about helping with signage, he gave in. They called it the open chair. No price list. Just a sign by the door, give what you can, take what you need, sit if you're lost. Opening day was quiet. Then the second Sunday came, and the line spilled out the door. Lena managed reception. Jermaine swept the floors. Another teen started learning how to hold Clipper's hands, shaking but excited. And Mateo, he cut. He listened. He laughed. And sometimes when the light hit the mirror just right, he could almost see Eli leaning in from the doorway, smirking, nodding in approval. A few weeks later, a journalist showed up. Local blog. Word had spread about the barber who inspired a wall. Mateo almost turned her away, but Lena talked him into it. The article went live 3 days later. Title, The Man Behind the Mural, Why One Street Barber Won't Take Credit. It went viral. Not millions, but enough. Enough that the mural drew more visitors. Enough that someone spray-painted a second message near the bottom in clean script. He still believes. One evening, just as Mateo was closing shop, a boy about 14 stepped inside. Skinny, nervous, hoodie too big. He didn't say anything. Just pointed to the chair. Mateo smiled. First time. The boy nodded. Mateo draped the cape around him. What's your name? The boy hesitated. Then Noah. You're safe here, Noah. Mateo placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, firm but kind. And for the next 20 minutes, he cut. Careful, gentle, focused. When he finished, the boy looked in the mirror, stared, then quietly said thanks. And Mateo, with his steady voice and warm eyes, replied, You matter. That night when Mateo walked past the mural, he noticed something new. Tiny candles again. But this time there was music playing nearby. Someone had brought a speaker, and Eli's old graffiti tag, just a small crow sketch, had been added to the corner of the wall. Not defacing it, completing it. As if he'd finally signed his name. Spring deepened. The city buzzed louder, greener. Pigeons nested beneath rusty eaves. Sidewalks baked under longer hours of sun. But on Sundays, that tiny shop on the corner, the open chair, remained its own quiet planet. A place untouched by pace or profit. Kids kept coming. Some brought friends. Others brought silence. A few came just to sit on the stoop, not for a cut, but for the calm. Mateo kept showing up. Same chair, same hands. Same promise you matter, even if no one ever told you. Then one Thursday afternoon, as Mateo locked the gate after restocking supplies, a familiar shape stood across the street. Tall, hoodie pulled low, scar still visible in the fading light. Eli. Mateo froze. Eli gave a slight wave, then crossed the street. They stood face to face for the first time in nearly a year. Eli was older, more ink on his hands, eyes sharper but still familiar. Hey, Eli said. Mateo exhaled. You look taller. You look exactly the same. Eli smirked. They both laughed awkwardly, then freely. They walked without speaking for a while. Just around the block. Past cracked sidewalks, faded murals, and the smell of burnt onions from the taco cart. Finally, Eli said, I didn't know how to come back. Mateo didn't answer right away. I thought you were gone for good, he said. I almost was, Eli whispered. Then added, I didn't mean to disappear on you. Mateo looked at him. You didn't owe me anything. I did, Eli said, voice cracking. You were the first adult who didn't try to fix me, who didn't ask what I'd done. You just cut my hair, like I was worth the time. Silence sat between them. Then Mateo said quietly, You were worth the time. Back at the shop, Eli stepped inside. Lena was stacking clean towels. She looked up and froze. No way, she breathed. Eli grinned. Hey, Trouble, you better be real, she warned, or I'm throwing a broom at your ghost. He laughed and held up his hands in surrender. She hugged him hard. No words needed. That night, the three of them sat on overturned paint buckets in the back room. Mateo poured ginger tea into chipped mugs. Eli stared at the old mirror leaning against the wall. Didn't expect all this, he said. It's still just a chair and clippers. Mateo shrugged. Eli shook his head. It's more. It's a second chance. You gave that to me. Then he pulled something from his backpack. A small canvas, spray painted with a fresh version of the mural. Only this time the barber wasn't faceless. Mateo's eyes were sketched in perfect detail. Underneath, new words. Still cutting, still saving. He handed it to Mateo. Thought maybe it should hang in here, Eli said. Mateo didn't speak, just gripped the canvas like it might vanish. Over the next few weeks, Eli became a fixture again. He didn't cut hair. But he painted. The outside of the shop turned into a layered collage, faces, scissors, light bursting from mirrors. People started leaving notes taped to the windows. Some were thank yous. Some were stories. One read, "You gave my brother back his smile." Another, "She sleeps through the night now. Thank you for making her feel seen." And one more scribbled in messy penmanship. He told me he wanted to grow up to be like Mateo. One Sunday, a local high school art teacher came by. She offered to run free weekend workshops with Eli. Only if the shop hosts it, she said. Mateo hesitated. But when 3 kids immediately signed up, he nodded. Eli whispered later, "Looks like you're stuck with me." "I've been worse off," Mateo replied. Oh. That summer, the open chair was featured in a national publication. They didn't ask for it. But the photo Mateo mid-fade, a teen grinning in the mirror, spread fast. A foundation offered a microgrant. Lena laughed when she read the email. "We're official now." Mateo shrugged. "We've always been real." Still, he let her print shirts. They read, one cut at a time. The mural downtown became a landmark. People posed for pictures. Some cried when they read the words he believed I mattered. Eli updated it, once added a young girl holding a paintbrush beside the original image. Below that, in silver script, "Now I believe too." Then one Sunday evening, when the sun had dipped just past the rooftops and the last cut was done, Mateo sat alone outside. A boy walked past, maybe 10, stopped, stared at him, then asked, "Are you the guy from the wall?" Mateo blinked. I guess so." The boy nodded, thoughtful. "Cool." He hesitated, then added, "My brother says you saved his life." Mateo smiled gently. "I didn't save him," he said. "He just needed someone to see him." The boy nodded again, solemn. "I want to be a barber one day." Mateo reached into the drawer behind him, pulled out an old, dull pair of shears. He placed them in the boy's hands. "Then start with these." That night, Mateo walked past the mural again. The candles were still there. Someone had added a new line sprayed faintly along the base in soft blue. "Love doesn't ask for thanks, but it remembers." Mateo stood there for a while. Not smiling, not crying. Just still. Present. Witness to the thing he had built. Not a shop, not a program, but a sanctuary. One chair, one person at a time. Because sometimes the ones who speak the quietest leave the loudest legacy. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself? Sometimes it's the smallest gestures, a haircut, a kind word, a place to sit, that change a life. Maybe you've been the one offering that space, or maybe you've been the one who needed it. Either way, you matter. If this story touched, you share your own moment below. We'd love to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, quiet, honest, and full of heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Thanks for staying until the end. See you in the next one.